Welcome to another deep dive. We're going to uncover the story of a brilliant chemist, Alice Ball, whose work had a huge impact, but she was nearly forgotten by history.
Until now.
Exactly, until now. And our guide for this deep dive is a YouTube video called Alice Ball, the Forgotten Chemist, from the Contemporary Classroom. So get ready, because this isn't just dry science.
Oh, no.
This is a story of perseverance and social barriers and the fight for recognition.
Yeah, it's fascinating.
Yeah.
And it all starts with Alice Ball's upbringing. Born in 1892, she kind of split her time between Seattle and Hawaii.
Two very different environments.
Two vastly different environments that I think probably shaped her perspective. But what's interesting is her family's involvement in photography, particularly with a technique called daguerreotype.
A daguerreotype, for those who might not be familiar.
Yeah.
It's an early photographic process that used silver-coated copper plates.
Right.
And guess what?
Yeah.
Developing those plates required mixing various chemicals.
Ex-
And this early exposure to chemistry is believed to have ignited Alice's lifelong passion for the field.
It's amazing how those early experiences spark these passions, isn't it? In Alice's case, we see this beautiful intersection of art and science. Her family's commitment to social justice also played a significant role. Her grandfather, James Ball, was a prominent photographer who used his art to support the abolitionist movement.
Wow.
Yeah.
It seems that drive for positive change ran in the family.
Definitely.
Now let's fast forward to Alice's academic journey. She earned her master's degree in chemistry from the University of Hawaii, becoming the first woman and the first African American to do so.
Amazing.
And hold on, she didn't stop there. She went on to become the university's first woman and first African American chemistry professor.
All of this at a time when, women, especially women of color, face enormous barriers in academia. Her achievements, especially at such a young age, speak volumes about her brilliance and her determination and the obstacles that she had to overcome.
Absolutely. To truly understand Alice Ball's impact, we need to understand the devastating effect of leprosy in Hawaii at the time. In the early 1900s, the islands were grappling with Hansen's disease, as it was known then. This bacterial infection caused serious health issues, and it was surrounded by a lot of fear and stigma.
Yeah, the bacteria responsible, Mycobacterium leprae, it's notoriously slow growing, making it incredibly difficult to detect and treat. Imagine the challenge for scientists.
I can't even imagine.
Yeah, and available treatments were often ineffective against this resilient bacteria, leading to severe disfigurement and disability for those who were infected.
Adding to the hardship, King Kamehameha V had made this difficult decision to banish people diagnosed with leprosy to the island of Molokai, specifically to this isolated settlement called Kalapapa.
Right.
Can you imagine the feeling of isolation and despair for those sent there, separated from their loved ones, facing intense social stigma?
It was truly a dark chapter. And this bleak reality is what makes Alice Ball's work so significant.
Yep.
At just 23 years old, she stepped up to tackle this seemingly insurmountable challenge.
23 years old.
Yeah.
Here's where things get really interesting. Doctors knew that chalmogro oil had some effect against leprosy, but it was far too thick to be injected or easily absorbed by the body. So it was a conundrum. We have this potentially effective treatment, but it's useless because of its physical properties.
Exactly. And this is where Alice Ball's ingenuity comes in. She found a way to chemically modify the chalmogro oil, transforming it into an injectable form called an ethyl ester. Think of it as rearranging the oil's molecules to make them smaller and easier for the body to absorb.
So she essentially created a delivery system for the treatment to reach the affected areas.
Yeah.
Could you relate her chemical modification process to something we might be familiar with today?
Absolutely. It's similar to how we take fish oil supplements today, those omega-3 fatty acids. They're often in ethyl ester form for easier absorption.
It's fascinating how these scientific principles can be applied across different areas.
Yeah.
So this breakthrough, now known as the Ball method, was the first truly effective treatment for leprosy, offering a glimmer of hope to those who had been, ostracized and left to suffer. But here's where the story takes kind of a heartbreaking turn.
Yeah, it does. Despite her groundbreaking discovery, Alice Ball's contributions were initially stolen and credited to another chemist, Arthur Dean. It's a tragic echo of what happened to other brilliant women scientists whose work was overshadowed and unjustly claimed by others.
Yeah, you see this all the time, unfortunately.
Yeah.
It's infuriating, to
Yeah.
say the least. Dean essentially took her research, published it as his own, and for years received all the accolades. It wasn't until much later that Alice Ball finally received some recognition. but sadly it was posthumous.
This delayed recognition underscores the systemic biases that have persisted in science. And it's a reminder that giving credit where credit is due is crucial. And celebrating the achievements of all scientists, regardless of their gender or race, is essential.
We can't change the past, but we can learn from it and ensure such injustices aren't repeated. Thankfully, people are starting to set the record straight.
Right.
So in 2000, the University of Hawaii dedicated a plaque to Alice Ball near a chalmugra tree on campus.
Oh, wow.
And it's a symbolic step towards acknowledging her contributions and rectifying this historical injustice she faced. And let's not forget Alice Ball Day, celebrated in Hawaii every leap year on February 29th. It may be once every 4 years, but it's a way to remember her legacy and the impact she had on countless lives.
It's a start, but her monumental contributions deserve even greater recognition.
I completely agree. Her story is finally gaining wider attention, including this short film that was made about her in 2020. But her story raises this important question. How many other brilliant minds, especially those from marginalized communities, have been similarly overlooked throughout history?
That's a question worth pondering, and one we should keep in mind as we kind of delve deeper into the lasting ramifications of the Ball method and its impact on leprosy treatment.
It's incredible to think that even with limited resources and, facing those societal barriers, Alice Ball managed to develop this treatment that changed the lives of so many. Speaking of which, what can you tell us about the impact of the Ball method on those living with leprosy, especially those banished to Kalapapa?
For those individuals, the Ball method offered a glimmer of hope in what was essentially a hopeless situation. Before her breakthrough, they were sent to Kalapa with the expectation of living out their days with, very limited treatment options and facing immense social stigma.
So before the Ball method, there was no real way to manage the disease.
Chalmogra oil had shown some promise, but as we discussed, it was unusable in its natural form. Alice Ball's work transformed this knowledge into an actual treatment. And while it wasn't a cure, it was the first significant step towards managing leprosy.
It must have been an immense relief for those suffering from the disease.
Yeah.
Can you imagine the shift from despair to a sense of possibility, to finally have a way to, fight back against this debilitating illness?
Absolutely. The Ball method not only provided physical relief, but it also helped to alleviate the psychological burden associated with leprosy. It allowed for a level of control over the disease that was previously unimaginable.
It's remarkable how one person's scientific breakthrough could have such a profound impact on the lives of so many. Did her work influence subsequent leprosy treatments?
Oh, absolutely. The Ball method was a cornerstone in leprosy treatment for years. It paved the way for the development of more effective drugs and therapies, leading to a decline in the severity and prevalence of the disease.
It's truly a story of, triumph over adversity. A young scientist facing the challenges of the time manages to develop a groundbreaking treatment that changes the course of medical history. And to think she accomplished all of this at just 23 years old. What else do you think she could have achieved had she lived a longer life?
It's a question that kind of lingers, isn't it? Her untimely death at 24, just a year after developing the Ball method, is a profound loss to the scientific community. We can only imagine the further breakthroughs she might have made.
It makes you wonder about the countless other potential Alice Balls out there, Brilliant minds whose potential might be stifled due to a lack of opportunities or recognition.
You're absolutely right. Her story emphasizes the importance of fostering inclusive environments where talent is nurtured and celebrated, regardless of background. It highlights the need to challenge systemic barriers and ensure that everyone has the opportunity to reach their full potential.
We can't change the past, but we can certainly work towards a future where stories like Alice Ball's become the norm rather than the exception.
Exactly. It's about creating a world where brilliance can shine from all corners and where scientific progress benefits from the contributions of diverse minds.
And that brings us back to your earlier question. How many other brilliant minds have been overlooked throughout history? I imagine there are countless stories waiting to be discovered. Stories of individuals who made significant contributions but were never given their due credit.
It's a sobering thought,
Yeah.
and it underscores the importance of, digging deeper, of questioning established narratives, and of seeking out those hidden figures whose stories deserve to be told.
So what can we do as individuals to ensure these stories are brought to light? Where do we even begin to look for these hidden figures?
Yeah, it can feel overwhelming to think about, the sheer number of untold stories out there, but honestly, that's also what makes it so exciting, right? Every discovery has the potential to reshape our understanding of the past. Absolutely. And you don't have to be a historian or a professional researcher to contribute. Sometimes those most fascinating discoveries happen when someone stumbles upon a forgotten letter, a dusty archive, or even just a family story passed down through generations.
So you're saying these hidden figures could be closer than we think, maybe even in our own families or communities.
Exactly. Start by just being curious about your surroundings. Talk to older relatives, explore local museums and historical societies, or even just delve into online archives and genealogical databases.
You never know what gems you might uncover.
Exactly.
That's such a great point. It makes history feel so much more personal, so much more accessible. Instead of this distant, untouchable thing, it becomes something we can actually engage with and contribute to.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And don't underestimate the power of sharing these stories. Whether it's writing a blog post, giving a presentation to your local community group, or simply telling your friends and family about it, you can help amplify those voices and ensure they're no longer forgotten.
It's like we're all pieces of this giant puzzle. And by sharing what we find, we help to create a more complete picture of the past. What stands out to you as the most important takeaway from Alice Ball's story?
For me, it's just a powerful reminder that scientific progress, it's not linear or solitary. It's messy and collaborative, often driven by individuals who challenge the status quo and overcome sometimes, significant obstacles.
And Alice Ball's story is a perfect example of that. She didn't let those societal expectations or those limited resources hold her back. She saw a problem and used her ingenuity and her determination to find a solution that had a real impact on people's lives.
Absolutely. And that's a lesson that I think extends far beyond the realm of science. Whether you're passionate about history, art, social justice, anything, never underestimate your ability to make a difference. There are countless stories waiting to be told, challenges waiting to be tackled, and contributions waiting to be made.
Well said. I think we've given our listener a lot to think about today.
We certainly have. It's been an honor to delve into the life and legacy of Alice Ball.
Before we sign off, I want to leave our listeners with one final thought. The world is full of hidden figures waiting to be discovered. It's up to all of us to be curious, to ask questions, and to seek out those untold stories that have shaped our world. You never know what amazing discoveries you might make.
So until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep sharing those stories.